Yes, Mr. Chair. Insofar as system loss, dahil natural yung ibang component ng system loss, talagang hindi maiiwasan. But it can be minimized. And to minimize it, kinakailangan din na mag-introduce ng capital expenditures ang distribution utilities or kaya pababain yung kanyang pilferages. So may katumbas yun, so kakailanganin lang na balansehin po.
Yung balancing kasi ang problema, Chair, ano? Dahil sa katulad nga niyang pilferage, nangyayari naman talaga ito, lalo na sa Valenzuela at sa Caloocan. Hindi mo narinig, Mr. Chair, ano? Buti na lang hindi mo narinig. Itong mga pilferage sa electricity, sabi ko marami yan ako sa Valenzuela at sa Caloocan, ano. Hindi ko lang malamang alin yung mas ano. Hindi to kontrolado ng distribution utility. Talagang maraming nagnanakaw ng kuryente. Kaya lang, para ipasa natin doon sa pangkalahatang consumers naman, wala namang kinalaman sa, siguro kung ipasa mo doon sa nagnakaw, okay lang yun. Pero yung wala namang kinalaman sa pagnanakaw, pero nakasama sa pagbabayad niya ng kuryente, yung ninakaw ng kapitbahay niya. This is something that is very, very inequitable. Kaya sa pagbabalanse natin, sino ba yung pinoproteksyonan natin? Yung gumagawa ng kuryente o yung gumagamit ng kuryente? That's the balancing factor eh. Sabi kasi ng Supreme Court decision dito, any expense charged to a consumer by a distribution utility that did not relate to his benefit is inequitable and unjustified. So, pilferage, ninakaw ng kapitbahay niya, it did not inure to his benefit. Bakit niya babayaran? So, ito yung pinaka-problema eh. Now, let's talk about, mag-umpisa tayo para maunawaan nating lahat. Kayo po, ERC and NEA, interested kayo doon sa mga electric cooperatives, doon sa Uniform Reportorial Requirements or URR. Tama?
Opo, tama po. Meron tayong pinatutupad na
Yun
URR.
yung pong distribution utility, nung bumili siya sa power producer, X amount, at nung makolekta niya, X amount, meron diferensya eh. Di ba?
Tama po yun.
So bumili siya sa supplier, nung singilin niya yung binenta niya, hindi niya ma-maximize yung, yun ang, technically, yun ang system loss. Tama?
Tama, yun po yung konsepto natin ng system loss, yung difference ng kilowatt hours na sinupply ng mga suppliers ng isang distribution utility at saka yung kilowatt hours naman na naibenta ng distribution
Kaya
utility.
nga, so ano po yun? Nasaan po yung problema? Maaaring ng kolekta, hindi niya nakolekta ng tama. Maaaring yung iba, binulsa niya siguro. Pangkaraniwan, ganun po eh. So, yung technical side po nito, sabi ng Meralco, for example, meron po talagang this is natural in this commodity. Tumaas ang voltahe, di ba? Umusok, may nawala. Siguro nabalatan ng kuryente, lumabas ang kuryente. Sa layo mula doon sa generation to transmission hanggang doon sa kahuli-huli ang bahay na sinuplayan mo. Depende sa layo, di ba? O, yun ang technical. Kaya lang, sabi ko, pinipilit ko nga, bago ka naman nagpasya na gumawa ng kuryente, alam mo na ito eh. Di ba? Halimbawa, ikaw ang may-ari ng Meralco, Mr. Chair. Nung ginawa mo yung Meralco, pati yung iyong mga shareholders, alam nila na meron po kayong risk dito. Meron kayo talagang technical loss. Hindi nyo naman pinag-usapan, hindi, ipapasa natin sa ano. Hindi po eh. Na-recognize na ninyo, from the time you decided to go into this venture, alam nyo na meron kayong technical loss. Yun ang punto. May mawawala at mawawala. Hindi po ba?
Yun pong ating mga distribution utility kasi,
Hindi, sumagot ka muna.
may mawawala at may
Yun.
mawawala.
Pero alam niyo po yun.
Opo.
Ngayon, nung alam po ninyo yun, bago kayo magpasya na gumawa ng kuryente, sa akin, these are calculated element of risks associated with business.
Ang
Tama
negosyo po kasi ng ating mga distribution utility ay hindi gumawa ng kuryente, kundi ay maghatid lang. At sa kanilang paghahatid, may nawawalang kuryente at yung kanilang paniningil naman ay pinapastro lang nila yung gastos doon sa kuryenteng i-deliver sa kanilang distribution system at yung kuryente na aktual na naibenta nila sa mga kanilang customers.
Yun nga po. Alam nila na bibili sila di ba? From generation, bibili sila doon. Tapos yung transmission, dadalhin sa kanya at siya naman ang magdadala sa household. Alam niya yun May mawawala from generation, from transmission doon sa distribution utility at papunta sa household. Sa lahat ng dinaanan po ng kuryente na yon, alam niya na may mawawala.
Opo, kaya nga po't binabawi yun doon sa power cost niya. Dahil nga yung nawawalang yun ay may katumbas na halaga. At yun ay kasama doon sa kanyang gastos na maaaring mabawi as a pass-through cost sa kanyang mga customer subject to the cap. That was...
So, punta tayo ngayon doon sa pagbabawi. Yung non-technical, nandun na yun. Yung nangungulekta, nagkamali ng pagkolekta. Yung hindi niya nabasa tama yung metro. Yung billing clerk, mali yung ganito. These are non-technical. Walang kasalanan po yung rito Pati ba naman yun, ibabawi mo?
Yung pong non-technical na pinag-uusapan natin dito ay yung karaniwan ay yung pilferages po. Kaya hindi na...
So, paano po natin binabalanse yun? Kung hindi, halimbawa, nire-recognize nyo po hindi maiiwasan, paano natin reasonably mababalanse para hindi mabigat sa tao?
Yun po ay yung pag-aralan from time to time kung ano yung akmang cap na ipatutupad ng ating mga distribution utilities.
So, mula po ng 2001, nung magawa yung EPIRA hanggang ngayon, 24 years later, gaano na po yung pag-aaral? Gaano na po ang effort natin sa pagbabalanse ng problemang ito?
Simula po tayo sa mas matataas na cap at nitong 2018 po ay nagkaroon nga ng pagtatakda ng bagong mga caps, mas mababa na, nasa 8% na. Nagsimula tayo sa private distribution utilities na mga nasa 12%. Ngayon po ay nasa 8 na. Pero ang actual nila ay mas mababa pa ngayon kahit hindi naman...
Hindi po ang pag-aralan siguro natin, hindi yung pagbabalanse. Tingnan natin alin po ba ang ating binibigyan ng emphasis? Yun pong gumagawa ng kuryente o yung gumagamit ng kuryente? Kasi kung titingnan po ninyo yung mga financials ng mga gumagawa ng kuryente, mapa generation, mapa transmission, mapa distribution, hindi naman po sila nalulugi, sa totoo lang. Siguro kayo, dahil kayo ERC, karaniwan na sa inyo, makita nyo yung financials nila Di ba? Sa isa sa mga resolution pa nga ninyo, naglagay pa kayo ng cap For example, meron kayong cap doon sa kanilang yung equity whatever. Meron kayong nakalimutan ko yung term Nag-set pa kayo ng parang should be only 36 point something o 13.65% yung cap sa isang distribution utility. Meron po ako nakitang resolution ninyo Pero pag tinignan nyo, hindi po 13.65%. Doon sa particular instance na yun, 22%. Sa mga kapatid, hindi po ninyo, hindi napapanagot Kaya, saan po kayo na nakakita na distribution utility na nalugi? Hindi ba natin pwedeng pag-aralan? Halimbawa, Meralco. Nakita niyo na po ba yung return to equity ng Meralco kung gaano po yung percent?
Sa ngayon po, magsisimula na kami ng rate reset. Kaya't matitingnan ulit kung ano yung nararapat na ipasingil sa kanila as part ng kanilang rates na weighted average cost of capital.
Di po, sinasabi ko, kung halimbawa tinanggal natin ang system loss, kunwari lang pumayag na silang lahat at napag-aralan natin dapat nang tanggalan ng system loss kahit na private distribution, kahit na electric cooperatives o kahit na pa yung off-grid areas, blah blah blah. Di ba natin masusuri kung ganong impact, kung malulugi ba sila o hindi, gaano ay kalulugi nila? Palagi ko, hindi sila malulugi. Yun lang po yung gusto ko makita. Let's say 20 billion peso per year na income nila. Lugi ba yun?
May halaga po kasi may gastos itong nakatumbas itong system loss associated sa generation at saka sa transmission.
Naintindihan ko. Ang sinasabi ko po, yung kinikita po ng distribution utilities, kung aalisin natin yung malaking bagay po ba, ma-improvise ba sila kung talagang alisin na natin? Yun ang gusto kong makita po.
Ngayon po kasi pass-through purely pass-through ang kanilang pangungulekta ng generation at transmission. Wala silang kita doon. So kung ano lang yung kanilang aktual na ginastos na inaalaw ng ERC, yun lang ang
hindi,
kanilang
yung pass-through po, yung silang nangungulekta sa generation and transmission. Kaya lang yung sa kanila, meron din silang cost na, ito po yung sinasabi natin. Ang ano po kasi, ang system loss, transmission lang at saka distribution utility, pinag-uusapan natin.
Opo, pero ang sinisingil natin sa pamamagitan ng system loss charge ay yung halaga ng generation at transmission na katumbas ng nawawalang kilowatt hours po. Kaya't ito ay pinapass through din, subject to the cap. Kung ang
walang system loss sa distribution, halimbawa Meralco?
Yun nga po yung nire-representa ng system loss na sinisingil ng ating mga distribution utilities. Ito ay yung para sa mga kilowatt hours na napapabilang doon sa system loss nila. At yung system loss na ito, ang component naman niya ay mayroong generation at mayroong transmission po.
O palagay na natin gano'n ang pagkakaintindi po ninyo dyan. Generation, transmission, and distribution. Di ba sila pwedeng mag-usap-usap? Prorata natin yung loss na yan. Ikaw 20% ka, ikaw 25%, ikaw ganito. Para sa gano'n mawala na lang sa tao. Para lang maipababa natin ang kuryente. Gano'n po sana yung philosophy na gusto kong mangyari.
Pwede po kasi na itulak natin, i-push natin yung cost na yan sa mga generators, but eventually kung ang mga generators naman ang mag-shoulder niyan, ipapasa din nila sa kanilang mga customers. So pero mas akma na ito ay mapabilang doon sa parte ng retail right ng ating mga distribution utility kasi ito ay yung nangyayari ng cost within their franchise area at sa kanilang pagsusupply sa kanilang mga customer po.
Kasi po, Mr. Chair, kapag ganun yung pinakapupuntahan ng ating pag-uusap, talagang mahihirapan talaga. Mahihirapan. Pag hindi natin binuksan yung isip natin, hanapan po natin ang lunas. Dahil hindi po masusunod yung sinasabi ng Korte Suprema. Kasi nanggaling na po sa Korte Suprema yung pananalita na ito. Any expense charged to a consumer by a private utility which did not inure to his benefit is unjustified and inequitable. Kailangan po nating panagutan yon. So naintindihan ko na mayroong cost sa iba, ngunit in the final analysis po, ang pinag-uusapan, yung expense na hindi naman napunta sa kanyang ganansya, wala siyang, hindi nyo dapat singilin siya, sabi ng Korte Suprema. Doon tayo dapat magsimula, Mr. Chair. Iwanan po natin yan. Puntahan natin yung...
Mr. Chair, can I interrupt?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, I want to cite kasi system loss is due to something, no? I guess that's because may losses sa distribution utility, sa EC. So, kinakalculate yan, tapos binabalik. But another way, not just by capping it, but another way of addressing the problem is fixing the efficiency of the utility, yung EC, for example. As a model, as an example, NIA, with the leadership of Admin Nani, has shown that to be effective, in Zamboanga ba? Tama ba? In Zamboanga. Inayos nila yung metering nila, dinagdagan. I think Admin Nani can explain it better. It will cost us a few millions na rin just to ensure na tama yung mga metro nila, kompleto siya. But it can be done also on the other end, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I recognize that, Madam Secretary. Kaya nga yung URR ay mandatory sa lahat ng mga electric cooperatives. Mandatory yung uniform reportorial requirements that dito nyo makikita kung ailing sila or underperforming electric cooperatives. Naintindihan ko yun, Madam. Kagaya po nitong feed-in tariff allowance, no, nag-increase na po ngayon from 0.1189 per kilowatt hour to 0.2773 effective November 2025. Tama, Mr. Chair?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Or 74% increase that will be passed on to the consumers again. So, ito po, pinag-uusapan natin ang affordability. Imbes na naipababa natin, lalo papataas po eh. Ngayon, to make matters worse, ito, yung green energy auction natin, prices have not been reflected yet in the billing cycle, pero consumers will soon be charged. So dalawa pong renewable energy subsidies na po ang ano rito, yung FIT and the GEA. So ano pong gagawin ng DOE rito? To manage the overlap in renewable energy incentives para maiwasan natin ang overlap or double charging sa mga consumers natin. So again the question, is DOE focus limited to supply of generation without assessing the impact to the end users?
Mr. Chair, ang GEA kasi, it will be subsidized and it will be reflected eventually nga sa bill natin at it will increase, no? But as on an overall, because of GEA also, we are also, in our energy mix will be included cheaper renewable energy. So may balancing din na rin yan. Kung bumibili ka ng ang generation mo, may epekto din dyan, nabababa din siya, pero umaakyat din yung subsidy mo. But I think overall, it will be more of a reduction rather than increase, Mr. Chair.
Sana mapil natin, Madam Secretary, ano? Lalong-lalo na po yung mga consumers po natin na talagang mahirap na mahirap. Patuloy po silang nagte-text kay Chairman Sherwin. Sabi nila, pinakikita po kasi sa akin ni Mr. Chair yung mga text messages almost every day. Mr. Chair, sabi nila, baka naman we can bend the law to make the people happy. Hindi, pinakikita mo kasi talaga pong because of that, tad na po kami ng text messages eh. You want us to be happy, Mr. Chair, sabi nila. Papayagin nyo na yung ERC na you bend the law. Ha? Alisin na muna natin yung system laws na yan. Hindi naman magiging pobre lahat yung mga stakeholders na gumagawa ng... Pero yan lang naman. Palagay mo, palagay lang natin, pag inalis natin yung system laws, there's a general loss of, let's say, 1.5 billion per year across the board. Andyan na yun sa generation, andyan na transmission and distribution. Palagay lang, no? 1.5 billion ang nawala sa kanila. Pag tinignan mo yung financials nila, 22 billion, 24 billion per annum. Yung ba naman 1.5 na? Ang laki bagay ba naman sa... Pero yung 1.5 billion na natipid po across the board sa mga consumers natin, nararamdaman po nila yun. Yun po yung principle. Pasensya na po kayo at ako'y talagang makulit sa ganito.
Mr. Chair, Because we're talking here of not just Meralco but also the electric cooperatives.
Oo naman.
Doon sa singil nila, wala nga din silang return na binibigay sa kanila. Kaya kung sila din ang mag-absorb ng cost ng system loss na yan, ay baka mas mahirapan po ang kanilang operasyon.
Baka mas mahirapan, ha? Pero hindi pa natin alam na mahihirapan talaga. Baka lang, ano? Yung energy plan po natin, Madam Secretary, 2023 to 2050, yung renewable energy is targeted to supply 35% ng ating power generation mix by 2030. Palagi po nating nasasabi ito. And to increase to 50% by 2040. And become the dominant source of electricity by 2050. Napakaganda pong projection, Yusek, hindi ba? Pero narinig ko po si Undersecretary Kapongkol. Kala mo siguro hindi kita... Kala mo nilalampasan kita, hindi. Pero ang sabi mo kasi, we are now at 24% RE share in the energy mix, sabi mo. Eh sabi naman kanina ni Yusek Guevara, 31%. Parang magkaiba ngayon. Ikaw 24%, ikaw naman 31%. Ano man totoo rito?
Yung pong megawatts ay 32. Yung ay 30%. Yung pong megawatt hours, yung po yung 22.
Hindi po.
Apa.
Share po eh. 20 sa energy mix po ang pinag-uusapan natin. Sabi po ni Yusek Kapongkol, nasa 24% na po yung renewable energy sa energy mix. Kanina naman tinatanong ko kayo sa energy mix, ilang percent na ba yung renew? Sabi nyo naman 31. So sa percent po kayo nagkakaiba. So alin po, 24 o 31?
Pareho pong tama. Yung pong 31 kasi in megawatts, yung installed, yung capacity po in megawatts.
Naku.
Yung pong 24 in megawatt hours.
Ewan ko
Energy
ba?
po yon.
Baka si Administrator Almeda lang makakaintindi sa inyo dyan. Nagkaroon po ng SIP ngayon sa US, yung pagtulong nila sa kanilang mga kaalyadong bansa, di ba? Ayaw na ni Donald Trump. Wala na sa akin yan, kanya. Basta ako sa giyera na lang ako magko-concentrate, di ba? So ano epekto sa atin ngayon, ma'am? Sabi mo, sabi ni... Sino ba nagsabi? Nakita ko rito eh. Ikaw pala nagsabi. Chairperson Saturnino 1, wala kang epekto sa akin yan. Sige nga, paano natin... Hindi, sinabi mo. It was supported by ERC Chairperson Francis 1. Kasi dito ang state, the DOE said the SIP in U.S. renewable energy policy under President Donald Trump will have minimal effect to the Philippines. You supported it.
Actually, Mr. Chair, I don't recall that statement made, but yes, we support the Department of Energy's stated position regarding the impact of the shift in the policy in the United States.
Meron ng formal assessment, Madam Secretary, that this will not affect our program, energy program.
Yes, Mr. Chair, currently wala namang investor na US sa Philippines, or very minimal lang sa renewable energy. Mostly Asia and Europe ang investor natin, Mr. Chair.
Last June 13, 2025, yung ERC nagkaroon po ng public consultation. ito yung sinabi mo kanina in your opening salvo, it's about the Nasecore ba yun? Nasecore.
Nasikor po yung aming
Nasecore ba yun? Versus ERC, di ba? This is in regard to the decision of the Supreme Court that you have to find a new valuation methodology in regard to the regulatory asset base. Ang laking bagay po kasi nito, sapagkat karaniwan dito nagmumula po yung kung saan nyo kinakalculate yung rate po ng electricity, di ba? Ako po ay nagpunta ron. Ako lang po mag-isa. Kaya lang di ko kayo nakita ron kasi iba yung set ng panel, ano po. Hindi pa kayo ang nagsuggest po ako ng mga ilang bagay doon para makatulong naman. Halimbawa, ang sabi po namin doon, under the new rules, public utility services should be mandated to submit evidence that the assets included under the regulatory asset base are not only in working condition but must also necessary to and are regular that they are regularly and necessary used in their operations as distribution utilities. You know? Kasi po yung old, idle, and unnecessary assets such as recreational facilities and museums should not be included in the RAB. Tama naman po yun.
Tama po yan, Mr. Chair.
Tapos, ang sabi namin, instead of a single valuation method for all assets, ERC should utilize different valuation methods for different assets. Hindi naman po uniform ang mga assets. And then we also suggested that ERC should publish a standard list of assets category and assign a default valuation method for each category. At saka iba po, marami pa po yun na mahaba lang ito at hindi ko na sasabihin. Meron kaming kinonsider kasi ron. ERC may consider a reasonable and transparent risk premium, example 2 to 3%, to account for sector-specific risks and to encourage ongoing investment in infrastructure. The rate of return should also be reviewed, updated periodically to ensure it remains aligned with the current economic and financial climate. ERC should likewise publish a standard ROR formula or guideline to promote consistency and practicability. I believe I submitted this position statements on June 18, 2025. So, July, August, September, October. 4 months later, wala naman po akong na-receive na anything from you. Kahit na po hindi nyo ako pinasalamatan, okay lang po sa akin yun. Ang gusto ko lang malaman kung ito pong mga suggestions namin makakatulong po sa inyo at sa ating mga mamamayan.
Mr. Chair, dito ko lang po kasi gusto na gawin yon yung pagpapasalamat kay Senator Marcoleta
Ikaw naman,
doon sa kanilang participation.
Niloloko mo na ako niyan.
Hindi po, ipapaliwanag ko po kung ano yung inaprubahan naming trending method na kanina naman ay sinabi ko. Personal po namin gusto kayong pasalamatan dahil doon sa inyo pong mga inputs, yun po ang aming naging gabay doon sa pagdedesisyon namin to adopt the trending method for determining the valuation of Meralco's RAB. Ano ba po itong trending method? Dito po ay, gaya po ng nasabi ng ating butihing senador, yung pong assets ay titingnan natin depende sa kanyang klase. So may iba't ibang gagamiting factor upang i-value yung particular asset na yan. So consistent po doon sa nasabi ni Senator Marcoleta. So ito na po ang gagamitin natin for Meralco to comply with its directive in the Nasicor versus Meralco case that we adopt a different valuation methodology kaya po't niremand sa amin. At ito na nga po, ito ay na-adapt lang kamakailan lang at pa-issue pa lang yung aming resolution at kasama doon yung aming magiging liham ng pasasalamat po kay Senator Marcoleta doon sa kanyang partisipasyon po sa aming public consultation on this matter.
Pwedeng maging congressman ito, Mr. Chair. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Magaling mambola ba? Senator, thank you for that. Maraming salamat, Senator Marcoleta, for those interventions. May nakuha kaming secretary. Ay, sige, okay lang. Don't worry. Baka bumalik pa ho yan. Huwag kayong mag-relax. Right, thank you, Secretary. May nakuha kaming letter about additional funding support for the development in Mercedes, Camarines Norte, in Curimao, Ilocos Norte, and for offshore wind projects. It's a request for an amount of 4.6 billion. Can you explain itong project na ito and also the request?
Mr. Chair, this is for the development of the offshore wind. We're hoping to be offshore wind to be one of the flagship projects for this administration. And can I ask Yusek Bacordo to further explain? Go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Through the Philippine Ports Authority, the Philippine Ports Authority has committed for three marshalling ports by 2027-2028 period. One of this is the port of Pambuhan, which is actually a greenfield port. This is going to be a 15-hectare port in Pambuhan, and close to Pambuhan there are about 8 offshore wind energy service contracts within 50 nautical miles of that future port of Pambuhan. With this port in place, Mr. Chair, that will be on track with our target to have the first kilowatt hour delivered by 2028 from offshore wind.
Is the assurance that this offshore wind, they have my service contract doon, no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So the request is to build ports so
Yes,
that
Mr.
we can deploy the offshore wind projects, no? And these are privately led developers.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And then, but how sure are we that these developers are going to invest? No? Because I remember during the budget hearing, we also asked PNOC about this. I think PNOC had a project before. Ganun din, offshore wind rin. In fact, we requested, how much? Hold on, let me just look for my notes. Ito. Meron ng 88 million na nagastos, no, for that offshore wind. This is PNOC side, hindi naman connected to sa inyo. But I'm just saying na kasi naglalagay, based on your request, naglalagay ng pondo, gumagastos ng pondo, pero kagaya nito, hindi naman natuloy. No? But I'll ask that later on sa PNOC.
Mr. Chair.
So how sure are we that these projects will be realized? Kasi the amounts are not small. No? We're talking about 4 billion pesos in terms of infrastructure projects.
Mr. Chair, I have to clarify lang. These are ports that have big potential because there are areas nearer to the current service contracts. Currently, however, we have under PPA, we're trying to develop Camarines, and there's a possible port also in Batangas under PPA also, and the others also would cater to a different set of developers. When we are scheduled to have an auction by next year, by this year, for offshore wind for 3,300 megawatts, 3.3 gigawatts. Per megawatt in offshore wind is about $5 million. You convert that, that runs in billions ang investment. The investment in the port is very minute compared to how much they're bringing in now. How are we assured that they will bring in those investments? With the auction, it's a condition that they have to have an agreement already, a use agreement with a certain port so that they can join the auction. Kaya kailangan kumpleto na sila, may kontrata na sila sa port para maka-join sila sa auction. And so even now, they can already talk to the possible developers, or they can vice versa, kung pwede sila to work with them, because that will actually be a contract for very least mga 5 to 10 years ang isang developer lang, Mr. Chair.
The amount of the port might be small for them kasi malalaki investors to. Pero sa atin, 4 billion is 4 billion. No? It's quite a sizable amount. So ang gusto natin, certainty. No? And I know that this project is also important in terms of increasing our RE share. But kung maglalagay tayo ng ganito, kailangan may certainty na papasok itong mga investors na ito. Sa ngayon, meron silang service contract na hawak, di ba? But alam naman natin, the service contracts pwede rin hawakan na matagal. No? Kagaya kanina, nasabi ni Yusek Guevara, 105 yata na cancel. No? So in other words, the service contract is not an assurance that they will build unless meron na silang nasa committed stage na sila. May funders na sila, meron na silang kausap na mga EPC contractors, then pwede pa yon. Pero kung ganito lang, baka will invest 4 billion and then walang mangyari, uurong rin sila. No? So it's a chicken or the egg, I know. But you have to give us some comfort level to see whether this is a worthwhile investment. No? And we support the offshore wind. In fact, I want the Philippines to be the first one in Southeast Asia to have offshore wind investments. Malaking bagay yan para sa atin. No? Kung kaya nga, first nuclear, first offshore wind, then that will be a feat and bragging rights for us, no? For our country. But we need to have certain level of comfort before we pump in 4 billion pesos for a port project. So what is that comfort? What is that? Anong level ang pwedeng ibigay ng developer at ng DOE so that the country will be investing in this 4.4 billion? And how come, the next question connected, bakit hindi ito isinali sa inyong request sa NEP?
Mr. Chair, on the NEP question, Yusek Kev can explain what are the requirements and what's the assurance that the ports will be used. Ano? But on the NEP, because it's not under DOE, Mr. Chair.
It's under PPA.
PPA or
Yeah,
DOTR.
but even
yes,
PPA
Mr.
did
Chair.
not request for this. Nag-hearing kami ng PPA. They came here, but I don't see in their NEP. No? Unless I missed it, pero wala akong nakitang 4 billion for a... Meron ako nakitang pera for a cruise line, but not for a solar port.
We'll
Not solar, offshore wind port. No?
Yes, we understand, Mr. Chair. We have had several conversations with PPA, and I guess it's also a matter of prioritization for them. And 2 ports actually medyo napasok nila. These are the extra ports that we we do think that are necessary for a program.
Okay.
So inuna na nila yung dalawa, tapos meron pang iba na
Okay.
iniwan
Okay.
sila. Yusek Guevara can continue.
Regarding the level of comfort, we have seen the developers for offshore wind invest in several things. So the studies, the feasibility studies, the geotechnical, the designs that they have come up with, they have already spent millions of dollars on this. So those that we think are the frontliners, there are 16 projects. They are far advanced in where they are, and we know that they have already spent a lot. And
Even without the port.
even without the port pa, sir. So kaya government naman will have to assure them that the investments that they already made ay matutuloy-tuloy nila na maging offshore wind project talaga. So one company, more than $5 million na yung nagastos niya eh. So we know that they are spending. And also, for them to join the auction that was mentioned by the Secretary, our requirements are very high. They should have had many of the permits already done and the designs already done. So that is the level of comfort for the investment that the government will be making for the offshore wind port, Mr. Chair.
So I suggestion ko, well, I think you have may usapan na kayo with PPA on the other ports. But on this particular case, ang suggestion ko is to have some form of financial clause or movement from indicative to committed stage, and supply us with those information. So at least we can justify investing 4 billion pesos into an offshore wind port na alam ko kailangan to kasi kundi hindi nila malalaunch yung kanilang offshore wind, no? Paano nila ila-launch yun? But we need some advanced stage document para ma-justify natin. On the topic of nuclear, may nakita ko dito sa budget, meron tayong Nuclear Energy Program Coordinating Committee. It has a budget of about 45 million pesos. No? And so what's the exact status of our nuclear program? I heard the Secretary mentioned earlier na meron na tayong roadmap. No? But at what stage are we in terms of nuclear as of this point?
Mr. Chair, first off, on the increase in budget, there's NEPIAC and then there's the nuclear division. As of today, ang budget ng nuclear division namin, kinukuha lang yan sa bureau itself. So now we're trying to, that's why there was an increase also in the bureau kasi dapat meron sariling budget yung division na yan. Now, ang second is where are we at? We are preparing for, our target is by next year, a company can come to the Philippines and apply for a license.
Yun ang target natin?
Yun yung target namin by next year.
Alright.
So what does it mean? That licensing for siting, for example, no? What does it mean? We need to have the IRR of our regulator ready. Also the rules of, or the permitting or processes in DOE for a nuclear power plant. ECC has to be recalibrated para sa nuclear power plant ng DNR. There are also DND, Department of Finance. Many of the agencies are involved in this. So yun po yung preparation namin. Now we're now at the stage now we're assessing all the permitting processes in the different agencies para alam na nila kung ano yung kailangan nila hingin once there's an application. So having said that, we are trying to finish na rin lahat na capacity building now to that end. We are talking now we have MOA now with CHED and TESDA for skills mapping. Pag iladerize nyo din yung skills, ilan ba yung, we mapped it, how many operators do we need, how many construction, how many scientists do we need. So, and also on the part of the other agencies. So, medyo, it's the preparation stage for us to start now with the, hopefully with the pre-development na talaga, Mr.
But
Chair.
everything, Secretary, is contingent on PhilAtom.
Yes, Mr.
Diba?
Chair.
How fast can we set up PhilAtom?
Currently, Mr. Chair, they are doing the IRR for the PhilAtom law.
This is spearheaded by DOST.
This is the OST, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
alright.
Together with, of course, the FDA, mga ganun.
Okay.
Ang PhilAtom, we have, on the part of NEPIAC, for PhilAtom, we have contracted a technical assistance in the evaluation of preparation of PhilAtom. And PhilAtom they're still lacking on the personnel, equipment, probably capital outlay for them to have their own office. Pero currently, there is also in the transitory, Mr. Chair, na pwede naman yun yung galing sa FDA or I'm not sure in the DOST part for PNRI, ang people and the budget that can be transferred to that dapat pupunta sa PhilAtom. But as of now, I don't think it's sufficient enough for them to really be in full force. Kailangan talaga nila ng fresh budget to be operational.
Without PhilAtom, mahirap, walang pag-a-applyan ng license. No?
Yes.
So it's really, everything's contingent on,
Yes, Mr.
on
Chair.
PhilAtom. But during the budget deliberation of DOST, hindi naman nila, I don't recall DOST mentioning PhilAtom and its creation. No? So that's why I'm asking, because again, no, chicken or the egg, kung walang PhilAtom, walang pag-a-applyan ng license. No? But when during the budget deliberation of DOST, hindi naman nila, I don't recall DOST requesting for a separate item or a separate budget for PhilAtom.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure how they will handle establishing PhilAtom. PhilAtom technically is under the Office of the President,
Yes.
and then you get all the offices of the different agencies. No? PNRI by itself is already a regulatory commission. You just have to extract that function and people as well para ma-establish yung commission. I think that might be a good start already for them, Mr. Chair. Hopefully it comes with a budget that's allocated to PNRI, but
Correct.
that's for the OST to determine, Mr. Chair.
Correct. Well, I'm just flagging the department because if the target, and I know in the PEP meron na tayong, for the first time, may nuclear kasama na siya sa energy mix. No? So in other words, may timetable na sinusundan siya. So I'm just flagging the department on that matter. And also another matter is I saw lumabas yung Department Circular 2025-10-0019 and this is to ensure a ready market for available capacities for Pioneer NPP nuclear power plant. I know the intention, no, for exempting nuclear power plant to CSP, no? Para meron na siyang assured market kasi ang laki, no? We're talking about ano bang pinakamaliit na nuclear power plant? $10 billion in terms of construction in terms of construction
Basically
cost.
$10 billion.
Yeah, mga $10 billion siya, more or less. So sino namang maglalagay ng $10 billion nang walang market, no? Wala kang offtake, no? So I know the intention, but I'm also concerned with our least cost principle, diba? So we don't have to discuss that in length ngayon, but I'm just putting that on the table to the department, and later on we can have a longer discussion on that, because anong interplay ngayon ng least cost versus nuclear power plant, no? And from a consumer point of view, lalo na sa ERC, how are we assuring our consumers na si nuclear power plant is laging least cost, no? So you might want to have a quick response. No?
Quick lang, sir. That's why it's an interagency, or interagency in the sense that kasama namin yung ERC. It's to assess how do we set the tariff for nuclear. Buti na lang katabi ko si Nino. It needs a longer contract, Mr. Chair, not just a 20-year or 10-year. So the useful life in France, in fact, it's 70 years yung sa kanila. Some countries give 50. So that's a major consideration in determining what's the cost of nuclear for us. Otherwise, it will be expensive kung shorter siya, Mr. Chair.
Definitely because of the enormity of the investment cost, no, $10 billion. So that's about 50 billion pesos. Kailangan mo talaga 500 billion pesos. 500 billion, ganun kalaki. So imagine yung kanilang kailangan talaga meron siyang assured market, no? Kasi kung hindi, saan niya dadalhin yung kanyang kuryente?
Just another thing, Mr. Chair. Why is there the exemption from CSP is just for the first one, Mr. Chair. It's just to have the pioneer in the Philippines, and it won't cover the rest of the succeeding ones, Mr. Chair. It's an incentive or encouragement to build the first nuclear power plant in the Philippines.
Anong status na secretary ng EVOS natin? Is it fully operational na? And then also, ERC is part of that eh. No? So, kumusta ang implementation natin ng EVOS? Is it fully, everything is fully online already? But I get a lot of feedback. May mga nakausap akong developers na okay, positive feedback actually, and they said talagang nakita nila yung efficiency, no? But in terms of achieving full integration of all departments to EVOS, kumusta na tayo dyan?
Before kanina to ka Isaac May, no? Before Undersecretary Kapongkol answers, Mr. Chair, EVOS, yes, it's one of the most the pride and joy of DOE, but it's still not there yet, Mr. Chair, to be as we envisioned. It needs more work on the side of the DOE and all the other agencies. But yes, it's has given us much headway in pushing for renewable. Mr. Chair, before Undersecretary Kapongkol explains, I just want to plug in a request, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
There's one issue really of EVOS. It's given 30 calendar days. Pag kompleto na siya, 30 calendar days, dapat ilabas na namin yung decision. Otherwise, it's deemed approved. 30 calendar days converts to 30 minus 8, mga 22 days, working days, Mr. Chair. Currently, we're handling about 26,000, did you say? We have processed 26,000, and we try to keep up naman with the number of people in REMBI and the bureau, but it's really not feasible for, it's not healthy, let's say. Iba niyan, Mr. Chair, na manganganak na lang sa hospital, nag-pirma pa rin. May nakunan na yun dyan. May mga stroke. It's not healthy for because of that. We've tried to cut it off the hours, for example, na dapat past 5 o'clock, but still the stress levels in the, you can see it in the records ng turnover, and we're hoping maybe it can be well, our wish is just merely put it in 30 working days, no? Yun lang yun. Kasi hindi kasi yan nag-iisa eh. It has to go technical, legal, and financial. Hindi naman pwede na sabay-sabay lang lahat. Kasi kailangan may order siya eh. But that's our concern. Major concern yun sa REMBI, sir. Kasi maybe before we were envisioning a few applications per day or per month, but now we're talking about thousands na eh. So it's not really... we'll make the proper request to you, Mr. Chair.
What's envisioned when we were drafting that together with all these stakeholders is really a full automated, almost no human intervention system, meaning the system, the paper will hop from one office to the other via digital means, via electronic means. So yun yung vision. So that's why nung pino-formulate namin yun yung lumalabas, no, 30 calendar days. But we're open to listen. So you can send us a justification kung hindi talaga feasible. But that is the vision, no, to get it done as quick as possible.
We totally understand, Mr. Chair, and in fact, by using AI na nandyan na, it could even be easier than first envision. But we still have to fix our systems. We have to make sure that it's purely digital. It's not manual digital.
Yes,
and we
correct.
need
Tama.
another year for that, Mr. Chair. But during that year, our people in REMBI and all the other agents, bureaus actually need a medyo konting break naman sa 30 calendar days. But anyway, we'll communicate with it to you officially and properly, Mr. Chair. I'll give it to Undersecretary Kapungkol for the update on the agencies. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you,
then
Mr. Chair.
also I saw in the budget mayroong 30% budget increase to 59 million for EVOS. No? Yeah. So mayroon tayong budget para dito, no. But when na-realize na ba natin in total vision natin na full electronic, full digital ang EVOS?
If I may, Mr.
Yeah, go
Chair.
ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Sir.
Since July 24, when 2020, when we started the Energy Virtual One-Stop Shop, there are 19 processes. But today there are already 58 workflows from 14 department or national government agencies. No? So for the Department of Energy po, there are 5 units in the DOE that are integrated in the Energy Virtual One-Stop Shop. We have also the National Power Corporation, National Transmission Corporation, NEA po, and then we have the NCIP, Energy Regulatory Commission, and then the IMAP, the Independent Electricity Market Operator of the Philippines, the NGCP, yung DOLE, and DOJ. No? So we can provide po the list of specific workflows that are currently integrated in the EVOS. And currently ongoing po is about 65 processes that will involve DAR, Department of Energy again, another units, and then DENR, including the Laguna Lake Development Authority, additional workflows from the Energy Regulatory Commission, the NWRB, market operator, another workflows for the NGCP. So continuously, we're building up all the full integration per each of the agencies in the EVOS po.
Dito sa report, 64 processes are not incorporated yet.
Yes po, in the work is 65 work processes and we continue.
So kalahati pa lang yung na-incorporate, in other words, more or less,
Sa ngayon po,
You said-
58, Mr. Chair,
58, correct.
workflows, and then we're working on the 65 additional workflows.
Yes, so yung additional 65 will make it 100% fully digital, fully electronic.
Electronic, sir.
Fully electronic. Oo. So that's why nga 50% pa lang yung ating na-achieve ngayon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr.
All right, sige. Well, we support that. Yun na nga, no, marami akong mga ilan-ilan naman, di marami, ilan-ilan na positive feedback. Sabi nila na nakita nila yung difference in terms of speed and lessened red tape.
Mr. Chair, even for this this year or last year, no, ERC and NCIP also na-include na siya. So in some processes, but it made it easier for everyone also.
I'll jump to another topic, Secretary, and this is on NGCP. No, and NGCP's franchise is will expire. Yeah, 2034. No, yeah, yung concession agreement, and then last time merong statement ng DOE which I agree, no, na ihiwala yung system operation tsaka yung in transmission, in asset ownership, no, and yung system operation should remain with government. In fact, na-file ko ba yung bill? Na-file ko yung bill? Na-file ko ba? Oo. In fact, nag-file ako ng bill I'm just double checking na ihiwalay yung system operation and yung asset, no, ownership. Is that still the direction of the DOE? Considering that Maharlika already invested, I think about 20% ba of, if I'm not mistaken, 20% of indirect investment of NGCP.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if that investment is signed and sealed yet.
Hindi pa ba? Alam ko signed and sealed na yan Well,
that's the same question I have also, sir. But now
that's the first time I've heard about. Akala ko it's a done deal, no? Because in fact I support that because that will give us eyes and ears, no, inside NGCP, and yun ang nawawala ngayon. Parang we're actually blind to the to a infrastructure that spans from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So, okay.
Mr. Chair, on the question on separating the system operation and the transmission assets, we do support the concept, Mr. Chair, and in fact, in our projects or proposed projects in Palawan and Mindoro, that's the structure that we are trying to establish na si Transco yung SO. Tapos iba rin yung transmission assets. So at least we can have models already. But in our proposed EPIRA amendments also, if on the part of transmission, we also suggest the separation of the system operator from the transmission assets.
So that's still the policy or concept that we're pursuing.
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
at least we're consistent on that front. I'll go to ERC kay Chairman Nino. Actually, almost nasa dulo na kami ng budget hearings. We have 2 more days of budget hearings. And inupuan ko lahat ng mga agencies. Wala akong absent. Pero ngayon lang ako nakakita ng agency na hindi nag-request ng Tier 2. No? Tier 1 lang. No? So, ibig sabihin kung ano yung request nyo, yun ang ibinigay. Diba? Any reason for that? Because traditionally, before you, Chair Nino, madalas namin tinutulungan ng ERC by adding extra amounts, especially to support the resets. Alam to ng mga commissioners, no? We would add a few 100 millions Kasi ako, personally, I believe in order to exact discipline and lower down electricity rates, we need to have a strong regulator. Deregulated tong environment natin eh. Isa lang ang pwede natin gawin para mapababa yung rates at siguraduhin na fair play is a strong regulator. No? So that's why we always augment the budget of ERC. But this time around, hindi kayo nag-request ng Tier 2. No? So any particular reason? And I heard earlier kay Senator Marcoleta, marami ring mga resets na papasok I think next year. No? So
Yes, Mr. Chair. Insofar as the plan, because when I assumed office, there was already the proposed NEPs for ERC. I just had to look at the details of what is being proposed and looking at the utilization also, which was comparably very low.
that's
Then,
true also. Actually, that's another considered. The utilization is very low.
It would be contradictory for me to be asking for additional budget for certain expenditures when, in fact, those that were provided us, we could not even make use of. But insofar as this year, for the remainder of the year, and to be able to realize our plan, our target to be able to finally restart the reset process by January, we will already be utilizing what is left of our budget for 2025 to be able to procure the regulatory reset expert, the consultant that will assist us in the review of the rate filings of the Group A entrance to the PBR for this coming January 2026. So that is our plan for the rate reset, Mr. Chair.
Kasama na siya sa budget for 2026 sa Tier 1 niyo.
For 2025, Mr. Chair, yes, that will be utilized, and then that consultant will be providing service until the reset starting 26.
26. Okay. All right. So with that amount, may mga items lang ako nakita sa budget, Chairman. Nakita ko na there's a decrease in the budget of local travel, but an increase in foreign travel. Diba mas kailangan natin ang local travel kasi nag-i-inspect kayo ng mga planta, nag-inspect kayo ng mga DUs. How come there's a decrease in the budget in local travel and increase in foreign?
Based on the submissions of the different services of ERC in terms of their budgetary requirement for local travels, to include, of course, the hearings in the localities and also the conduct of IEC and other activities in the various parts of the country, they felt that the current budget and that as proposed would already be sufficient. But insofar as foreign travels, considering the developments in the industry that need to be kept abreast of developments in technologies like for storage and now nuclear, we would need to capacitate our staff and send them to other countries for foreign travel so they can be exposed to these developments.
Deliberate yan. Deliberate na tinaasan yung foreign travel because of this. And I just want to inquire, no, kasi it's in the budget, so I just want to understand. And I admit, kagaya ngayon, nuclear, you will regulate nuclear rates. Admittedly, that's completely alien to all of us, no? I think walang tao sa Pilipinas siguro exposed sa nuclear rate setting. Ibang-iba talaga siya. So, kung yun naman ang intention, then I support that, no? Kasi especially technical know-how is very important to the regulator. Very technical yan, no?
Yes, and how they regulate it in other jurisdictions where there are also markets or competitive electricity sectors.
Sige. And then I talked to Secretary Garin earlier, and she made a very good point about
Grid management.
The grid management committee, no? And I remember your predecessor or two predecessors collapsed that under the ERC, no? And the DOE, our policymaker, views that this is an important facet of regulation, no? So and there's no budget for that, no? So ano ba ang policy ng chairman ngayon on that grid management committee? And I know that's a very technical group, eh. Talagang it's a multi-sectoral, different, all the players are there, and very technical siya. All the experts are there, all the engineers are there. But in the past, I think there was this notion that it's not supposed to be funded by government. No? That's why it was collapsed. So what's the new policy under the new chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As we mentioned in the Committee on Energy during the hearing on the ERC restructuring bill, we actually support the reconstitution of the GMC-DMC either as a as an inherent part of the ERC organization or as an attached organization that supports or serves as ERC's technical arm. GMC and DMC were created pursuant to the Philippine Grid Code and Philippine Distribution Code, which were issuances of the ERC. They were funded not by government but by contributions from the sectors that they represent. For the Philippine Grid Code, it is funded out of assessment from NGCP, and for Philippine Distribution Code, it is funded out of assessments from the various distribution utilities. However, a previous chairperson found this arrangement to be not in order, so it decided not to act on the budgets of DMC and GMC anymore, because ERC was the one approving it, but the assessment is made to the stakeholders. So naturally, these organizations died a natural death. What GMC and DMC were doing at the time that they were very active was actually supporting the ERC in terms of their technical know-how, knowledge, and their expertise that they are able to make use of whenever we refer actual work to them, like review of the distribution utility submissions of their compliance plans to the Philippine Grid Code or Philippine Distribution Code. So they are able to help in the evaluation and in the recommendation to ERC. They are also very helpful in introducing amendments to the Philippine Grid Code and the Philippine Distribution Code, because that is very important, because there is need to constantly update our grid and distribution codes. But when the DMC and the GMC were discontinued, so we found a vacuum in our organization. We do not have any more a technical arm we can rely on. So we are doing it by ourselves. We asked for additional budget for additional manpower, additional engineers, but with the additional budget that was approved in previous years, with the additional plantilla positions that were approved for ERC, what we are able to hire only are the Aero 1, Engineer 1, or those entry-level staff, fresh grads from university, and they don't have that experience that we had when we had the GMC and DMC, because their boards alone were from representatives of various distribution utilities, mid or high level officials with years of experience in utility operations. So we are not able to experience that with our expanded plantilla. So in our restructuring proposal that we are putting together, we're thinking either of having a technical arm embedded already in the ERC organization, or similar to GMC or DMC, as a separate non-stock, non-profit organization where we can have an agreement where they can provide technical support to ERC. Right now, the previous chair actually they issued a resolution to have an interim GMC, and the interim GMC was designated, the technical committee of the PEMC was designated as the interim GMC. But I don't know about what happened to that designation. I think it has not yet been fully utilized, because that is also an option. The GMC, there is attached to the PEMC, there's attached to the PEM board a committee known as the technical committee, and there are also representatives here from the industry that can have or possess that experience and expertise that can also be utilized by the ERC, but we need to just explore the possibility of collaborating with them or coming up with some arrangement. But of course, it would be superior if that committee can reside within ERC. And so for that, we may need to support the creation of that committee through a reorganization of ERC and budgetary support for this committee to be embedded in our organization.
I think, Chairman, ang issue rin is, number one, saan manggagaling yung funding, ba? And then pangalawa, possible conflict of interest, no? And pangatlo is transparency, no? So as long as it serves the objective of public service, then we'll support that. No, I think those are the contentious issues before, but admittedly, it's ako nakikita ko importante yung technical side, eh, no? And the code needs to be updated on a regular basis. Yun ang complication in that part, no? So just if you think that we need to, I think the policymaker thinks that it's an important aspect that we need to look at, just send us a letter, no? Just address the contentious issues of possible conflict of interest, funding, and also transparency, no? Sige, yeah, we'll wait for that. I also saw in your plantilla, Chairman, na out of the 546 total manpower, 253 are contract of service or job orders, which is almost 50%. No, napakalaki siya, no, considering that this is a highly technical and very important organization because it regulates the entire electric power industry. So, bakit hindi natin hindi maging plantilla sila o regular? Bakit puro kalahati ng manpower natin, JO? So, wala silang secure tenure, no? Wala silang benefits. And yan ang kailangan natin, no? Assurance that to our workforce na they will be maintained and they will be given the rightful benefits.
Yes, we agree, Mr. Chair. In fact, yun yung gusto din namin na makasama in our reorg proposal, na yung aming mga current na positions for contractual COS, kung pwedeng ma-regularize, because malaki din yung limitation sa aming staff na yan. Hindi namin sila maisama sa ibang mga biyahe or yung hindi mautusan makapag-conduct ng certain activities dahil doon sa status nila as COS. And of course, dahil ganun yung status nila, mas marami sa kanila kung hindi nabibigyan ng security, ay mas madali silang nakukuha ng ibang players.
Sure, mataas ang attrition sa inyo, no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Bakit hindi sila nata-transfer nga to plantilla items?
Most of them kung qualified naman.
Meron naman kayong hold on, let me just authorize naman yung inyong, may mga authorized plantilla items naman kayo.
Yung ibang plantilla items din po kasi, may mga QS sila or yung qualification standard na sobrang napakatataas na hindi rin maka-qualify yung iba naming mga COS na karapat-dapat na sana at na-train na. Kaya tuloy, hindi rin namin ma-fill up yung ibang mga permanent positions. But we have a pending request with the Civil Service for the adjustment of the QS for some of these positions po.
Kita ko may 103 na vacant positions kayo.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So it's really a QS issue.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So I suggest you network with the CSC para maayos itong issue na ito. Kasi parang for a regulator, hindi healthy na kalahati ng workforce natin. Hindi siya permanent o hindi siya wala siyang security of tenure. And these are technical people, no? Engineers, economists, lawyers. So again, ako kasi paniniwala ko ang pag-asa na lang natin pababa ang kuryente is regulator. Kung mahigpit ang regulator, kung ang regulator innovative, tapos yung mga technical people magagaling, kayang pababain ang presyo ng kuryente. But it depends on the quality of our workforce and the motivation of our workforce. Yeah. I'll go to another topic na napag-usapan to before. I think some of the commissioners know about this, and I made some comments on this. This is on the case nung NGCP reset. I understand that yung final decision, nagkaroon pa ng utang ng consumers, no, na 0.0384 pesos per kilowatt hour. And prior to that kasi, what we understand before was yung partial determination, sila may utang sa atin, yung draft final determination, sila may utang sa atin. Pero ang nangyari, I think there was a big debate. Alam ng mga commissioners to. And I think this was heavily debated in your commission. And I voiced my opinion on this. Was the issue of uncommissioned projects or projects that are not commissioned yet. So ang position ko, to put it simply, I know this is a very technical, this is a very complicated matter. But sa akin is just to put it simply and make it, kumbaga apply common sense. Kung di pa tapos yung project, dapat wag tayo i-charge. Diba? Kahit na nag-umpisa na silang magbigay ng piso, pero hindi pa tumatakbo yung project, dapat wag tayo i-charge. Kasi yun yung classic case na ginigisa tayo sa sarili nating mantika. Diba? Para sa akin, charge mo kami kung wag tumatakbo na yung project, kung gumagana na yung project. I understand that the Commission changed the interpretation 3 times. Ngayon ang ginagamit na is yung concept of as spent. Pag may nagastos na, pwede na kayo mag-charge. But sa akin, hindi yun ang point. Ang point dito, tapusin mo yung proyekto. Kaya nga tayo nagkaroon ng issue last time, Secretary of Delayed Projects, di ba? Ilang delayed projects, napakadaming delayed projects. Kaya nga, no less than the President in his SONA said na dapat managot ang NGCP. No? Dapat maging accountable sila because ang nakita niya, yung list of delayed projects that contributed to the erosion of our energy security. No, particularly electricity. No, so, bakit nag-change ang commission interpretation at pinayagan yung as spent rather than pag-commission na yung project?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I was not privy to the discussions of the previous commission, but insofar as the regulatory framework for our private distribution utilities and the transmission provider, NGCP, when we adopted the performance-based regulation, kasama dyan yung sa NGCP, inadapt natin yung performance-based regulation na forward-looking based on forecast ng utility. So, ibig sabihin, ang kanilang filing ginagawa sa year 1, halimbawa, or the year before the first regulatory year of that regulatory period. Pino-forecast nila yung kanilang magiging expenditures of OPEX at saka yung CAPEX at isinasabit nila sa ERC. Yung ERC titingnan ngayon at base doon sa kanyang sinabmit na CAPEX, titingnan ng ERC kung ito ba ay tama nga na simulan na or gawin na yung mga proyektong ito dito sa mga timelines na pinrovide mo. Ngayon, kung yun na ang naging approval ng ERC, ang gagawin naman susunod is ano ang magagastos mo na for each regulatory year of that ensuing regulatory period. So base yan doon sa forecast capex mo at yung actual na implementation mo. At kung ano yung magagastos mo for each of these years, yan ay sinasama na as part of your asset base sa pagko-compute naman nung iyong return on the asset base at saka yung return off. So ibig sabihin, kung sa regular na PBR na nagsisimula siya sa rate reset before the start of the first year of the regulatory period, nagkakaroon na ng konsiderasyon yung mga nagastos na within that regulatory period. At bakit ito nakakasama? Dahil nga gusto natin bigyan ng insentibo na yung regulated entity ay magsagawa ng kanyang capex on time base doon sa isinumite niyang schedule, nang sa ganon pumapasok yung capex, natatapos siya on time at during the time na mayroon na siyang pangangailangan sa asset na ito, ay magagamit na. So, nandito na kasi ipinasok mo na, inilagak mo na. Iba kasi po yung ating regulatory framework noon ng return on rate base na kung saan itatayo mo muna at pagkatapos ay doon ka ngayon mag-a-apply ng iyong RORB application batay doon sa kung ano na yung mga assets mo as of that historical test year. Pagdating po kasi sa ganon, pwede ka bago ka mag-file ng iyong RORB application, ay magsagawa ka na ng magsagawa. Kumbaga, patabain mo ng patabain yung asset base mo dahil pagpa-file mo, kung ma-considera lahat yan as part of your asset base, mas malaki ang magiging return on rate base mo. Wala yung insentibo doon na maging efficient ka sa pagsasagawa ng iyong CAPEX at doon sa iyong OPEX. Yun po kasi yung nabago doon sa ating rate making. Ngayon, pagdating sa reset ng NGCP at ganun din po doon sa mga distribution utility, nagkulang din po ang ERC dahil hindi siya nakapagsagawa ng reset bago pa magsimula ang regulatory period. Nawawala yung rate incentive, yung natural incentive ng rate making dahil nga ano ba ang i-implement ako kung ako yung regulated entity? Makapagsisimula na ba ako sa CAPEX ko na ito yung aking target? Ang nangyari tuloy, yung NGCP in particular, kinailangan niya mag-file ng separate na CAPEX application, separate, bawat proyekto na kinakailangan na niyang isagawa. At hindi pa rin niya maisagawa ito kung nakapag-file na siya, hinihintay pa rin niya yung CAPEX approval. At medyo naantala din, kaya rin hindi rin nakapagsisimula siya ng construction ng kanyang CAPEX. So naantala yon, nawala din yung insentibo. Kaya I would suppose that yun ang naging konsiderasyon nung naunang ERC in considering na para imimik mo pa rin yung incentives under that PBR. Ginawa mo na kung kailan mo ginastusan yung proyekto na yan. Dahil ginastos mo na ginastos mo na yung pera, yung capital investment, inilagay mo na kahit hindi pa nagagamit yung asset, mayroon ka na inilabas na pera at may cost din yon. So, I would suppose na yun din po.
But Chairman, in a perfect setting yung description nyo, ay lahat ng rate setting is delayed eh. Di ba? Wala namang on time. Di ba? Kailan ba naging on time? I think in the history ng ERC, mayroon bang on time? Parang wala naman on time eh. No?
In the last 10 years or so po, wala pong naging reset sa private distribution
Correct.
utilities.
So that's yung description nyo. It's a yan yung perfect world. But now it's not a perfect world eh. No? So sa akin, ang basic lang, kasi there's no incentive for them to finish the projects. Kasi nangongolekta na sila. And that's the reason why we saw a lot of delayed projects that led to a lot of brownouts. Nagka-problema tayo sa mga brownouts in the past. So to correct that, dapat ma-penalize sila by not charging us for projects that are not completed. Kasi ang nangyayari ngayon, kahit na matapos ko on time, hindi ko matapos on time, pwede na ako mag-charge eh. Pwede na ako mag-charge. For me, that is one of the root causes. Maybe you're looking at a regulatory process side, but from a reality and application side, yun ang nangyayari ngayon. So that's why, andito yung mga commissioners, alam ko yung naging boto nyo, pero you know, I think unfair yan sa amin consumers. Ako consumer ako, no? And I don't agree paying for projects that are not commissioned. No? That's number one. Kasi diba, for practical reasons, sino naman magbabayad ng full ng amounts na hindi pa tumatakbo yung project? Diba? Yung from a regulatory process, tama kayo, pero hindi perfect itong process natin, puro delay. Diba? Delay na yung reset, delay pa rin yung mabuti ko on time pa si NGCP, okay yun. Mabuti kung sinabi niya, okay, 2 years tapos na kami, okay yun. Eh, hindi, nakita natin, may 10 years hindi pa tapos. Diba? So, yung pera, alam naman natin anong ginagawa nila eh. Gagamitin nila yung collection dito, lalagay dito, tatapusin doon, bago tapusin dito. I mean, negosyante yung mga yan. They're conserving their capital. Diba? So, we have to be also very analytical on how they are managing their cash. At yun yung nakikita natin. They're just switching from one project to the other project. Yun yung nakikita rin namin eh. Kaya hindi nila talaga matatapos.
Mr. Chair, meron pong mekanismo din para mahuli yan. Kasi under the normal PBR, every time na magre-reset ka, babalikan mo din kung ano yung ginawa niya. Kung halimbawa, dun sa previous na regulatory period, nagkaroon ng CAPEX approvals at ganito yung schedule. Kapag ka nagkaroon ng delays or hindi na isagawa, pagdating sa susunod na reset, nagkakaroon po ng recalculation, yung mga net efficiency adjustments. Lahat po nito nakukonsidera para kung ikaw nga talaga ay hindi mo tinupad yung schedule ng pagpapatayo mo nung asset na yon o yung pasilidad na yon, pwede yan na bawiin or bawasan yung susunod mo magiging taripa moving forward. At yun lang.
Nabawasan ba with this?
Ngayon, hindi.
Nabawasan ba after?
Kasi po ito, kalalabas lang po ng ERC nung fourth reg final debt niya. Ngayon po ay meron pang nakabinbin na fifth reg until 2027, 28. Pero magkakaroon pa po tayo ng susunod at amin pong gagawin na ngayon na kada reset ay nasa oras na. Tulad po ng gagawin namin sa mga DUs.
I remember si Secretary pa that time nag-present dito ng mga delays. Diba? I remember siya nag-delay kasi nga ang issue that time was yung mga brownouts na nangyayari. Si Secretary Garin pa nag-present dito. Yung mga present niya na delays different. Natandaan ko may mga 5 years, may 7 years. Yung ba na-penalize ang NGCP? In fact, hindi. Na-reward pa nga sila dahil nagkautang pa yung consumers. Diba? That's the point I'm trying to make. Were they penalized? Yung mga delays na may evidence ng delay eh. That's for sure. Anong penalty ang siningil natin sa NGCP?
Meron daw po na ilang mga show cause orders na na-issue.
Yeah, but show cause yun. But yung actual financial penalty,
check po.
Walang actual financial. Kaya nga, imagine mo, Chairman, si Presidente na ang nagsabi sa SONA. No, first time na ang Pangulo kinall out yung transmission operator. Diba? Because of the delays. But if you will not penalize them, and instead reward them because as spent, sige, gumastos ka na, kahit piso, charge mo na lang consumer. Hindi tamang, for me, hindi practical tsaka hindi reality on the ground. Again, that might be your regulatory process, your regulatory concept, but the realities on the ground, hindi ganyan. Nagkakaroon ng delays, and because of delays, nagkakaroon ng brownout. No? Yan ang realities on the ground. Iba yung textbook regulatory process, iba yung realities on the ground. Yan, katabi mo si Secretary Garin. Siya nag-present dito, I remember, nagkaroon ng resolution to look at the brownouts. So meron ba, tanong mo si meron bang penalty? Sa alam ko, wala.
Mr. Chair, can we request Comdigal, who was already commissioner
Sige,
at the time?
Scoundrel, meron ba? I know you voted in favor of that.
Yes, Chair. And
But may penalty ba? Did we impose any penalty to NGCP for the delays?
there were specific projects po that were covered by specific show cause orders wherein there were imposed penalties. Hindi lang po ako sure ng status. But Chair, if I may, because of that hearing nga po, wherein the issue on the delay was raised, there was a new provision in the final determination of the NGCP 4th RP that is not part of any other previous reset. To address po the issue on the delay, there is now a annual CAPEX review true-up. What do I mean by that po? Although naka-MR po yung NGCP na FD, pero nandun na po to dun sa FD. Ang sinabi po namin doon, itong RAB na binigay namin sa iyo, may kasamang CAPEX na meron kang kinumit na timeline. But at the end of the year, pag ni-review namin na meron kang hindi nasunod dun sa timeline mo, that amount pertaining to that asset will be removed and there will be adjustment. Yun po ang naging parang bagong provision dun sa final determination ng NGCP para po ma-address natin, yun nga pong nasa kanila na po yung parang naging budget, tapos hindi po na sunod yung delay. So tatanggalin po yun. There will be a true-up po.
That's forward. Paano na yung na-delay na? Paano na yung na-delay? Yun ang tanong ko. Yun ang tanong ko. May mga delays na, may mga brownouts nangyari due to delays.
Yun pong mga delay, ano na po siya, na-covered po siya nung specific project na na-delay because all the decisions of the Commission in approving the CAPEX, meron na po siyang timeline na kinumit or in-approve. Minsan nga po yung sinasabi nilang timeline, hindi po namin yun ang ina-approve. We approve a timeline in accordance dun sa isinasubmit nilang TPSR o kaya yung number of months na kinumit nila nung sila po yung nag-file ng application. Meron pong mga specific cases yan na nakalagay na po yun para pag po na-delay sila doon or may delay silang na-incur, there will be penalties po.
Tanong ko, yung mga investigation ng DOE na na-prove nila may delays, na-penalize ba ang NGCP doon? Yun ang tanong ko, simple lang. Meron ba o wala?
Ang alam ko po may na-issue mga show cause orders po. Hindi pa wala lang po akong data ngayon. Apo.
Slap in the hand lang yun.
Apo. We will submit na lang po siguro kung meron na pong nabayaran or meron na pong na-evaluate na may penalty. Wala lang po sa akin ngayon yung
sila,
data.
Alvin, bakit i-check nila kung meron?